We gladly will accept her resignation effective immediately. She told the President of the United States, F you. So she set the tone, didn't she? She's not holding herself to the whole standard. Again, more hypocrisy coming from the top now this time.
Do you think it was acceptable behavior for the police officer to stick the middle finger out?
Is it professional behavior? No. But is it childish? Maybe a little bit. Again, it's not fireable. She knows that. It's just rhetoric that she's throwing out there because she knows she screwed up last weekend with the response to this whole riot, and it falls on her doorstep. And she's obviously trying to say, look over there, not over here.
Recently, there's been a lot of talk of police officers covering their badge numbers. Do you think that's acceptable behavior?
No, it's clearly a violation of the general order, but again, she knows darn well that that's not a fireable offense in any way, shape, or form. Never has been.
Are you encouraging your officers to show their police badges?
No, actually, I was explaining to them in there, do not do that, because they're putting us in a difficult position to try and defend them. It is a violation, I'll admit that, and they know that. I cannot control what officers do, I can only obviously respond to what I'm presenting. You could obviously make an argument why they would do that too. There has been recent postings of officers' names, addresses, and phone numbers on social media. That's private. It's supposed to be private information. So if I have your badge number, I could clearly obtain other information possibly, and that's putting a family at jeopardy. So clearly officers are concerned. There is a lot of strange behavior going on in the city right now, and people want to protect their families first and foremost.
In recent news, there's been misconduct allegations against police officers at the Brickyard Mall, breaking a window, aggressively pulling some of the women out of that car. Have you spoke with those officers, and what are your overall thoughts of that incident?
My understanding of the incident is quite simple. The 25th District Lieutenant was calling basically for a 10-1. He was calling for all available cars to come to the Brickyard Mall because of looting. That car was described as one of the vehicles involved in the looting. Officers arrive on scene, they have a description of a vehicle that's possibly offending, looting, they're going to take action. They can articulate the reason why they did what they did. They are absolutely obliged to get everybody out of that vehicle. They are not cooperating. I know people want to say the police are wrong about this, that, or the other thing, but the simple fact is when you are given a lawful order, you need to comply with that lawful order. You can make all the complaints you want after the fact, but in the process, you are obligated to comply with that lawful order. They were not doing that. She was not knelt on her neck. She was knelt on her collarbone. That is a tactic taught in the police academy to keep someone on the shoulder blade or the collarbone, to keep them to the ground. It is not Minneapolis, so people need to stop perpetuating that lie because it had nothing to do with it. Those officers responded 100% appropriately. But what's not talked about is the secondary incident at that same scene where that young girl in the backpack punched an officer in the eardrum, causing damage to his ear. She was arrested and charged with a felony, aggravated battery, to a PO. But you don't hear anything about that. They keep focusing on the original incident.
Do you think the shattering of the back car window that ruptured her eye, was necessary?
When you are trying to get subjects out of a vehicle who resist, you are obviously okay to damage the window to get them out. Period. You can do that. I would just like to say I'm extremely proud of the men and women of the Chicago Police Department. It has been an extremely long 9 days for many of them without a day off, 12-hour days. And this constant changing of start times back and forth. Some officers are working on 4 hours of sleep. Again, the superintendent has talked about fatigue. Fatigue plays into a lot of these situations. When you're getting screamed at every day, hour after hour after hour in this heat, you have to take that into consideration when people's reactions are maybe not quite what you expect them to be, maybe a little bit shorter. Again, we need to start getting our members the time off to decompress. That is not happening. The superintendent promised it. I'm waiting to see it become reality.